Welcome to the deep dive. So the idea here is pretty simple. You send us the stuff that gets you thinking, articles, research notes, maybe just a strange feeling,
Right.
and we try to unpack it together.
Exactly.
Today, the learner's given us something really fascinating. It's a collection of excerpts about a recurring comet
Hmm.
and some, well, pretty unusual things connected to it. So our mission today is to dive into this mystery, the mystery of the Whisper Comet.
That's right. And the basics are intriguing already. The texts mention an 88-year cycle for this comet.
Okay, fairly standard for some comets.
Well, yes, but what's not standard is its trajectory.
Yeah.
It's described as unpredictable, almost like it's ignoring the usual rules of astrophysics.
Unexpected. So not following the nice, neat elliptical paths we expect.
Pretty much. Which, right away makes you think what else is influencing it, things we don't fully understand.
Absolutely. Gravitational anomalies, maybe? Or something else entirely. But it gets weirder than just the orbit.
Oh, definitely.
This Whisper Comet, apparently it's linked to some really specific, strange events whenever it gets close to Earth.
Yeah, the sources list quite a few things.
Like radio static that isn't just noise, it starts forming patterns.
Mm-hmm. And landlines ringing. But when you pick up, nothing. Dead air.
Creepy. And dogs barking at seemingly nothing.
Yes, that too. And maybe the strangest part, people reporting shared vivid dreams of cities with twin suns.
Wow. All happening around the comet's approach.
Seems so. It's described as this collection of, whispers, almost background noise you can't quite place. One source called it a ghost song.
A ghost song. I like that. It captures that feeling of something there, but just out of reach. So are these just coincidences, or is there a connection?
Well, that idea, the ghost song, became a lifelong obsession for one Dr. Isla Moreno.
Okay, who is she?
She's introduced as a professor of exolinguistics at the University of Marsden.
Exolinguistics, so studying potential alien languages.
Exactly. How might extraterrestrial intelligence communicate? What would their languages even be like? And for her, this comet wasn't just astronomy. It started with her grandmother.
Her grandmother.
Yeah, stories passed down through generations about listening to the comet's invisible song. That family connection kind of fueled her scientific path.
That makes it very personal, doesn't it? It's not just data, it's legacy.
Right. And she really dedicated herself. Spent years studying signals from the comet's previous pass, back in 2099.
Okay.
Developing really complex algorithms to try and find a pattern.
And I imagine she faced some pushback. A comet talking.
Oh, absolutely. Skepticism was high. The idea of a comet being alive or intentionally communicating, it's a huge leap. But she kept at it.
Driven by that curiosity, that family history.
And eventually, it paid off. For the next return, expected in 2187, she got a pretty significant grant from Marsden Observatory.
So institutional backing.
Big time. Access to a cutting-edge deep listening array down in New Zealand. Advanced AI for decryption work. And, importantly, her own solo research team. Freedom to pursue her theories.
You can just feel the anticipation building in the text for that 2187 return. All eyes on the sky, but especially hers.
Definitely. The narrative builds towards this specific moment. March 3rd, 03:03 a.m. That's when the comet hit perigee, its closest point to Earth.
The climax. And what happened?
Silence. Just profound silence. Not just quiet, but like everything electronic just stopped.
Whoa. An eerie calm.
But only for a moment. Then chaos. Total chaos. Radio frequencies went haywire, all tangled up.
Okay.
Fiber optic lines filled with quantum noise. That baseline fuzziness at the quantum level, but amplified.
Right, the fundamental static of reality, but cranked up.
Exactly. And even the ionosphere, the upper layer of our atmosphere, started vibrating. It wasn't a whisper anymore. It was like a technological earthquake.
So not subtle at all at the moment of closest approach.
Not at all. But Dr. Moreno, amidst all that noise, found something incredible.
A signal.
Not in the way we usually think of signals. No words, no music we'd recognize. It was different. She identified what the source calls a seed language.
A seed language. What does that mean?
Like proto-symbols. Basic building blocks, maybe. Embedded in these electromagnetic pulses. But the structure, the complexity, it was apparently far beyond anything known on Earth.
Suggesting a very different kind of intelligence.
Fundamentally different, yeah. What kind of mind creates language like that? It's a huge question.
And after this discovery, Her work rate sounds intense.
Completely consuming. The text mentioned sleeplessness, weight loss. She was skipping health checks,
Yeah.
just driven day and night, decoding these symbols as they unfolded.
Wow. Just pouring everything into it.
You get the sense of someone totally obsessed, but in the pursuit of this monumental discovery.
And did she decode anything specific?
Yes. The first coherent phrase came through, just 3 words. We hear you.
We hear you. Chills.
Right. Simple, but think about the implications. And apparently, she questioned it herself at first. Was it real? Was she just seeing what she desperately wanted to see in the data?
Understandable doubt. That's a massive claim to make.
But then, a confirming message followed.
What did it say?
You are not alone.
Wow. Okay. That changes everything.
The text describes her reaction as profound. Not just the, oh wow, aliens exist part, but the realization that they knew about us, that they were listening to.
That's a huge paradigm shift, isn't it? We always think about us searching for them.
Exactly. It implies a two-way street we hadn't really conceived of. Maybe even a galactic conversation already happening.
So what came after that? Did the floodgates open?
It seems like it. Over the next 6 weeks, the descriptions say she decoded fragments of, well, incredible things.
Like what?
Bits of a map, for one.
Yeah.
Descriptions of concepts completely alien to us, things like crystal harvest seas, sky routes, thought ships.
Hot ships? What even is that?
We can only guess, right? But it points to a reality operating on vastly different principles. And there were also warnings. Something about the Sundering.
The Sundering. Sounds ominous. Any more detail on that?
Not much of these initial decodes, just the term presented as a warning.
Okay, so she's got this potentially world-changing information. How did the world react when she published?
Well, the public reaction, or at least the reaction from mainstream academia and media, was pretty much ridicule.
Ah. Not surprising, maybe, given the source. A comet?
Yeah, the talking comet idea was likely too much for many. It challenged everything. But that wasn't the whole story.
Oh.
The texts hint at something else happening behind the scenes. Quietly.
Like what?
Private briefings for unnamed individuals,
Yeah.
satellite arrays being reconfigured, military assets shifting orbits, subtle moves.
So while publicly it was dismissed.
Someone, somewhere with power and resources seemed to be taking it very, very seriously.
Interesting. Why the secrecy then? What were they expecting or hoping to gain?
Good question. Maybe control. Maybe they were just verifying. The text doesn't say explicitly. But then, the nature of the communication changed again.
How so?
A new message came through. Different signature, different frequency, different cadence, the text says. And this one wasn't just information.
What was it?
It was identified as an invitation.
An invitation.
Direct and simple. Come, find us.
Whoa. Okay. That's bold. From passive listening to an active invitation.
Exactly. And it came with coordinates. Deep space coordinates.
Yeah.
Far out. Way beyond the Kuiper Belt, the edge of our solar system. A place totally unreachable with our current propulsion technology. Decades, centuries of travel time.
So an impossible invitation like, here's where we are, too bad you can't get here. Seems odd.
But that leads to maybe the most mind-bending part of this whole narrative.
Okay, I'm ready.
The invitation wasn't for a physical journey. They knew we couldn't make it physically.
Then how?
Hidden within that quantum noise, alongside the invitation, was something else. A blueprint.
A blueprint for what? A faster ship?
No. A blueprint for a consciousness transfer protocol.
Consciousness transfer. You mean like uploading your mind?
Essentially, yes. The idea wasn't to send a body across space, but to send the mind, the consciousness itself. Digitally, maybe? Mentally. Along the comet's particle stream.
So the comet, it wasn't just carrying a message, it was potentially a transport medium for thought.
That seems to be the implication. They sent their voices, their thoughts, and they wanted ours in return. Travel via consciousness.
That is, wow, a completely different way of thinking about interstellar contact, bypassing physical limitations entirely.
It's a staggering concept, and Dr. Moreno, according to these texts, she believed it.
So what does she do? You can't just build a consciousness transfer machine based on alien blueprints, can you?
Well, she tried, clandestinely. No official permission, obviously. The sources say she used her own savings.
Risky.
Very. Bribing technicians for parts, maybe? Hacking into virtual reality pods using these alien schematics she deciphered, working totally off the grid.
Building this thing in secret, driven by this invitation.
The description of the device is quite evocative. A cracked VR immersion helmet, wires everywhere, jury-rigged transmitter parts, humming copper coils. Very makeshift.
A garage-built portal to the stores. It sounds like science fiction.
Doesn't it? And then The text paints this picture of her, ready to use it, standing there looking up at the comet, the whispering comet, knowing what she was about to attempt.
Her final moment on Earth, potentially.
Potentially. She gets into the pod, the makeshift machine, activates the sequence.
What did it feel like, does the text say?
It describes a sensation of falling, not physically, but falling through layers of reality.
Whoa.
Experiencing alien memories, flashes of these vast cities she dreamed about, the thought ships, seeing beings made of light. Like her mind was literally traveling along that data stream from the comet.
Merging with the signal.
Something like that, until she arrived.
Arrived where or what?
At a destination described as a vast network, a network of consciousnesses, luminous, immense. They identified themselves as the voices.
The voices, not physical beings.
No. The text is clear on that. More like patterns, songs, thoughts woven together. Ancient, apparently kind, but also wounded.
Wounded? How?
We'll get to that. But first, their greeting to her. Telepathic, obviously.
What did they say?
Welcome, Ayla. You heard us. You are the first in 1,000 of your planet's cycles.
The first in millennia. Wow. Confirmation.
Huge confirmation and validation for her entire life's work, obsession. And then they shared their history.
What was their story? These voices.
They're once travelers, like us maybe,
Yeah.
but beings who explored the infinite. Eventually, they transcended their physical forms.
Became beings of pure thought or energy.
Seems like it. To connect across the vastness of space more easily, perhaps. But then the Sundering happened.
That warning she decoded earlier, what was it?
A catastrophe.
Yeah.
Something that devoured thought itself. A force, an entity, an event. It's not entirely clear, but it was devastating to beings of pure consciousness.
That's terrifying. A predator that eats minds.
Or erases them. A cosmic void for thought. They barely survived.
How did they manage?
Their survival strategy was ingenious in a way.
Yeah.
They encoded themselves, their consciousness patterns, into cosmic debris.
Like comets.
Exactly. Comets,
Yeah,
asteroids, anything drifting through space, hiding in plain sight within the physical universe, sending out these faint whispers, these ghost songs.
Hoping someone somewhere would eventually develop the means to hear them.
Right. And humanity apparently was the first civilization in ages to actually pick up the signal and understand it wasn't just noise.
Thanks to Dr. Moreno.
Thanks to her. So after sharing all this, they presented her with a choice.
What choice?
She could return, go back to her body on Earth, the memories perhaps wiped or faded, resume her life, and forget. Or she could transcend fully, leave her physical body behind and join them, become one of the voices, a whisper carried on the comet's trail.
Stayed as pure consciousness. Wow, that's
Okay.
quite the decision. Return to everything you know or become part of something ancient, vast, and wounded.
A profound choice. The text says she reflected on Earth its cruelty, yes, but also its beauty, its resilience. And she thought about her ancestors, her grandmother, listening for that same song across generations.
That connection again.
And her final choice.
What did she choose?
She chose to stay, to join the voices.
She stayed. So what happened back on Earth to her body?
It was found eventually in the lab near the machine, still breathing, biologically alive, but brain dead. No sign of higher cognitive function.
Just gone.
Doctors, the official reports, they apparently dismissed it as a tragic outcome of obsession. Stress, breakdown, self-neglect leading to some kind of catastrophic neurological event. They missed the real story.
The story of her journey.
Completely. But the narrative doesn't quite end on that sad note. There's a final suggestion.
What's that?
That now, sometimes, when the Whisper Comet makes its 88-year passage through our system, if you listen closely to radio static, just right.
You can hear something.
A faint voice, maybe Isla's, maybe others. A voice offering welcome, reassurance, saying we're connected, and encouraging us to dream louder.
Dream louder. Huh. Like reach out with our own consciousness. Keep listening.
Maybe. It leaves you with this lingering feeling, doesn't it?
Yeah,
That the universe might be whispering back if we only knew how to listen properly.
definitely. This whole deep dive, based on the learner's sources, it really makes you rethink things. The nature of intelligence, communication.
Right. What if consciousness isn't strictly biological, tied to a physical body as we understand it?
What if it can exist as information, as patterns, as song?
And communication doesn't have to be radio waves beamed in neat packages. Maybe it's woven into quantum fluctuations, into the very fabric of cosmic objects passing by.
It shifts the perspective massively. From us scanning the skies for signals like ours to maybe tuning into signals that are fundamentally different. Ancient dialogues happening in the background noise.
And we have to thank the learner for bringing this material forward. It's a fantastic example of how exploring these less conventional sources can spark really profound questions.
It absolutely is. Highlights the value of just being curious,
Right.
following those threads that seem a bit strange.
So for you listening,
Mhm.
what do you take away from this idea of the whisper comet, of consciousness beyond bodies, communication through cosmic whispers?
Mhm.
What does that suggest about the universe, our place in it?
Yeah. Does it change how you think about static on the radio or just that feeling of connection you sometimes get? Makes you wonder about the whispers in your own life, doesn't it?
Those little unexplained patterns or moments.
Exactly. Could there be more to them? And of course, if you stumble across source material, text, recordings, anything that sparks your curiosity and feels like it needs a closer look, please send it our way.
We're always ready for the next exploration.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on this particular deep dive into the Whisper Comet.